If there is a message for us today, I believe it is to learn to live from our heart in love. These short lessons, hopefully, will help to inspire you to live with purpose, love passionately, and inspire others. We are the change agent our world needs. I'm Helen Toews. Step into the river today with me to explore the mysteries of God. They are not hidden from us, but for us to discover. Okay, here we are. Well, I don't know how many of you have been on the website to look for any reason at all, but what we've done is we have put the children's books on, and we've made an offer that they are free. They're free. If you would like to have them, we're just asking if people will pay the postage. Postage in Canada has just skyrocketed, and so if you pay the postage, we will gift you the books. We wanted to do that before Christmas, and I had a little ad made and everything, and then we're in a postal strike. So here we are in the new year, and we're going to offer it for a couple of months. You can also read the books or listen to them, because I've narrated them, and they're on. You can just press on the book and they come on. So if that's of any help or desire, I know that I remember Shannon Bates, when they first came out 8 years ago or whatever it was, she had a lot of these little people at home, and the kids would go to sleep listening to the books. I was so honored by that. That just seemed to be their go-to in the evening. So we've just put them up, and we'd just like you to have them, if that is something you would like. All right, tonight we are continuing with our consciousness series, actually. And it seems that for me, this subject of consciousness has just taken on a life of its own, really. And why don't I just pin myself so that we can do that? Pin. Here I am until I'm not. How's that? Ed and I were in a conversation this weekend, actually, and it has led to this week's session. As we were talking about consciousness and subconsciousness, and some people, excuse me, and some people use the term unconscious, and I've never ever used unconscious, because I don't understand how we can be unconscious, and so I'm unpacking that a little bit tonight, and I asked, we were talking about, is there a difference between subconscious and unconscious? And I think there really is a difference. Yes, in it. Consciousness, we know, right, is an aware. We're presently aware of things, our thoughts, our perception, experiences of the moment, and it's a part of our mind, our conscious mind, that actively thinks and makes decisions. So we're pretty clear on consciousness. We're in a time where consciousness is being awakened to the extent where we are not only more aware of present and the now, but we're aware of the things that we've been doing before that maybe we need to deconstruct and take a more up-close look at. Subconsciousness is our storage system, right? Everything we have learned, experienced, or believed, but we're not necessarily actively thinking about, is lodged inside of us. And scientists like Bruce Lipton say we spend 95% of our time operating out of our subconscious. So we're only consciously activating our intention 5%. It's really staggering, and I really think we can reverse that. Our subconscious influence our habits, our emotions, automatic behaviors, and the best way to describe it is to think of ourselves sort of as tape recorder or a computer. And it doesn't think. It just plays whatever's been programmed into it. For instance, we've talked about this before. We don't have to think about, walking or riding a bike or driving a car. Once you learn, and it's a program that's in you, and we automatically do that. Well, we are, our consciousness, our subconscious programming began actually before we were even born. We actually can hear and feel and react to the outside world of our environment before we come into this world, while we're still in that beautiful womb. The Jesuits knew this, and they said, if you give me a child till he's 7 years old, I'll show you the man. They knew about programming and its effect on our lives, and they used it to program the belief system in children. And you know who else did that? Hitler. That's how his youth army flourished, and that's how actually some of those young people, there were thousands of them, got into really the evil ways of the regime because they were so young. If you've had any trauma of any kind and you haven't been able to deal with it, we often get triggered, we say, right? Sometimes that comes out of the consciousness, like there's a little room in there that it's been locked up. But once we recognize these things, we can actually reprogram ourselves, just like putting a new program into a computer. And this isn't what tonight is about, but I just wanted to do a little review, because what I want to do is take a look at the word unconscious, right? I looked up the etymology or the breakdown of and it simply means not, or the opposite of something. Unconscious, that means not conscious. But we're learning that everything has energy, right? We have brain waves, we have some form of awareness. But in medical terms, unconscious also refers to a state where a person is not aware or responsive, like in a deep sleep or a coma or being under anesthesia. And it's also when the brain stops functioning. Now, that was the definition. But to me, no brain waves is called death. Isn't that where, I'm not a nurse or doctor, but I watch television, and when you see this flat line, they call it the time of death. So there's got to be more to the story. So many, after a time of brain waves not being able to be seen on the screen, as it were, many people come back after that time with vivid awareness of being conscious when the medical state is actually called death. Yet they come back with a story of what happened to them. And you all know the term of the near-death experiences. When Ed and I were talking about this, we were looking at, I don't have the thing that I made with the lambda and epsilon frequencies are on there, but we were exploring the highest and the lowest frequencies on the scale of the brainwave scale. They are the fastest and the slowest, lambda at 200 to 500 hertz and the epsilon at 4 to 8. So I had taken them together and put them in a circle and saw all those frequencies, all those wavelength frequencies that are in us are all available to us, and the lambda and the epsilon come together because they will overlap. The lambda, we've learned, you'll have to go back and listen to the other explanation of it a couple of weeks ago, but the lambda often will interfere with the epsilon. And it was not interference, but it will overlap, and the two of them, so the highest and the lowest come together. Well, when you think of that, something that high, A hertz, right, is a measurement. It's a 1 second measurement. So a lambda state and a brain wave is 200 to 500 vibrations in 1 second. I can't even make my finger go that fast. It's really supersonic fast, Mach 100, whatever it is. But epsilon is 4 to 8, so it's a very, very slow. To me, that state, the highest state, seems to be in a hyperstate. I'm calling it a super state because it's really so difficult to imagine how fast our minds are going at that time. So the conversation with Ed and I said, we said, well, if the other state that we're looking at is called, if we're going to call it super conscious, then what is unconscious? And so I don't use that term at all. I'm going to use super conscious because super means above. The etymology of the Latin means above, over, on top of, or beyond. And it's the same definition. Super is the same definition as un. So that the evening we were talking and we decided super consciousness was a really great term. Got this book. My new best friend, Amazon Prime, he comes here quite regularly. And this book was delivered. And it was not an hour after we had this conversation of do we have an unconscious mind or a super conscious mind? And this book came and it's called The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence, Schovel, Shin. It's right here. I don't know if you can see that. It's small, but I loved it. So I started reading it right away. Page 4. I'm gonna read it to you. The imagination has been called the scissors of the mind. It is ever cutting day by day, and the pictures man sees there, and sooner or later he meets his own creations in his outer world. To train the imagination successfully, man must understand the workings of his mind. The Greeks said, know thyself. There are 3 departments of the mind: the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious. And now here we had come to that, and it just makes so much sense. And to read it, this is a really old book actually. This was written, was it written in the 1800s? Anyway, it's a great book. Great book. I'm going to continue. The subconscious is simply power without direction. It's like steam or electricity, and it does what it's directed to do, and it has no power of induction. Whatever man feels deeply or images clearly is impressed upon the subconscious mind and carried out in the minutest detail. For example, a woman I know, when a child, always made believe she was a widow. She dressed up in black clothes and wore a long black veil, and people thought she was very clever and amusing. She grew up and married a man with whom she was deeply in love. In a short time he died, and she wore black and sweeping veil for many years. The picture of herself as a widow was impressed upon her subconscious mind, and in due time worked itself out, regardless of the havoc created. That's pretty powerful, isn't it? That it would be that embedded. The conscious mind has been called the mortal or carnal mind. It is the human mind and sees life as it appears. It sees death, disaster, sickness, poverty, and a limitation of every kind, and it impresses the subconscious. The superconscious mind, now, I want to just add a little to the book right now. This human mind that sees life, and it was all put in the negative, is also in the positive. We program our subconscious mind using these positive things that occur in our lives as well. And that's also how we reprogram, if necessary, the subconscious. The superconscious mind is the mind of God, which within each man, and is the realm of perfect ideas. It is the perfect pattern spoken of by Plato in the divine design, for there is a divine design for each person. There's a place that you are to fill that no one else can fill, something you are to do which no one else can do. There's a perfect picture of the superconscious mind. It usually flashes across the consciousness in an unattainable ideal, something too good to be true. In reality, talking of the subconscious mind now, it is man's true destiny or destination flashed to him from the infinite intelligence which is within himself. Now, that is pretty cool. That's really, really pretty cool. The superconscious is the mind of God within each man and is the realm of perfect ideas. I love the way that's written. It is, I'm just rereading it here. It is man's true destiny or destination flashed to him from the infinite intelligence which is within himself. The superconscious mind is the place of our potential that's in each of us. And before we go into that, let's remember that we can reprogram the subconscious mind. And we are not victims of our subconscious mind, and we can rewrite mental programs. The science of epigenetics simply means above our genes, above our genetics. We used to think that because there is a certain disease in your family or a certain trait in your family, that means that you're going to have it. It's in your genes, we would say. Well, Bruce Lipton says it's our mind that controls our biology. It links our subconscious beliefs to epigenetics, showing that our thoughts and emotions can influence gene expression. So it's how we think, how we feel, how we live, how we express ourselves that actually reprograms any genes that need it, and we are not subject to the history of in our families. By changing subconscious beliefs, we can shift our health, our happiness, our life trajectory. And Dr. Lipton also emphasizes that our subconscious programming controls most of our life. But when we become aware of it and reprogram it, we can recreate positive outcomes. We're learning to observe our emotional triggers. They often reveal hidden subconscious beliefs. Even I think of all of the subconscious beliefs that we've carried from our leaving a formalized religion, that we've been having to take a really serious look at, and then ask ourselves, is this really our truth? And when we find that if it needs changing, how difficult it is to really rejig or reprogram those beliefs. We know that our subconscious learns through repetition, just like any habit. We rewire our brain through our new experiences, not just thoughts. We challenge old beliefs by acting differently, not just positive confessions, guys. We need to translate what we believe, what we know, into action. And the more we prove our old beliefs wrong, the faster our unconscious mind, or our subconscious mind, updates itself. We know our subconscious absorbs signals from our surroundings as well. Turn on the television. What do you get? Programs, right? What are the commercials? Programs. So we need to surround ourselves with positive people, positive books, music, visuals that reinforce the mindset that you want to be in. We're not victims to our subconscious. So, and the key is repetition. The key is practice. The key is doing things over and over and establishing the reality, just the way that things were established in the first place. We practiced until we got it, and whether it's riding a bike or learning to skate or swim, driving a car, we did it by repetition. So let's go back to superconsciousness. We're aware that within us, these two levels that seem to be very extreme are the lambda and the epsilon. My challenge is, what if we can access these? Can we access these advanced levels of consciousness and deep transcendental states? Can we? Do we have to go to a monastery in the mountains of Tibet, or is it accessible in our lives, wherever we might live? And I have one more what if. I'm finding myself thinking in terms of what ifs all the time now. What if our minds don't live just in our bodies, in our physical brain? What if there's a place that transcends what we have known or experienced? For instance, I don't know if anyone's read, I'm just reading about near-death experiences. I've heard about them and I've heard testimonies, but now I'm doing more reading about it. But during near-death experience, a person is believed to actually enter into altered states of consciousness that transcends the normal consciousness or the subconscious states. They call it near-death, but actually, when you define it by the brain function, it's a death experience. Because the brain waves no longer are measurable, and the person is generally declared dead. The exact level of consciousness during bodily death is still debated, but based on the reports from near-death experience survivors, spiritual teachings, and scientific perspectives, the experience appears to involve the following. When the body dies or enters into clinical death, brain activity may cease, but many near-death experiences report heightened awareness after this has occurred. And that's a little bit of what I'm challenged to think about tonight in this. This suggests then that there's a place, a state of pure consciousness or superconsciousness that is separate from the physical brain. In this state, there's hyper awareness. People report seeing and knowing things that are beyond normal perception. They often experience a realm where time doesn't exist. They are in a timeless state. Their consciousness is not bound to their body. Actually, their consciousness, as they report it, is expanded beyond it. So, is it possible that this state of superconsciousness is a bridge from a deep, advanced level of consciousness that transcends and is what continues? Is it energy that doesn't die just because the body dies? Everything is energy. Everything is energy. Some researchers and spiritual teachers refer to this as super consciousness, higher self, sacred self, or soul awareness. And it's the level where life reviews happen, where experiencers feel a deep connection to universal wisdom, love, and light. Many describe encountering beings of light, even deceased loved ones who communicate through thought. Some describe a oneness with the universe, as if merging with pure consciousness itself. And one I was reading that it was a neuroscientist, and Eddie, maybe I've forgotten the book, and the title. Can you find that and jump in with the? Do you remember the name of it? Okay, we'll get it. I'm going to report back. There is a book where he was a neuroscientist, and he died. He was ill for over a week. He was unconscious in a coma for over a week, and actually died. Had an experience where he heard God. He wasn't necessarily a believer or had any grid other than, he called himself a C&E, a Christian, a Christmas and Easter going Christian. But so he knew of God, but he came out of it knowing God. And he actually gave God the name Om, which offended a lot of people in this book. I kind of liked it. He just didn't want to call him God. He didn't have any other name, and he called him Om. And he expands in the book about this. Anyway, I've just taken a little bunny trail there. There's a lot of reporting on after death experience. If consciousness continues after death, does it exist independent of the brain? Well, it has to, because the brain wave stops. Does it shift from an individual identity to a more expansive universe? It must, because that's the reporting. So some traditions call this source or universal consciousness, or actually the mind of God. In this experience, this near-death experience, it may be that a person is in a state of expanded non-physical consciousness that goes beyond the typical consciousness or beyond the subconscious mind. And whether this is the soul, the higher self, or simply pure awareness, it actually remains a mystery. But the experience often transforms the individual's understanding of life and death. Actually, from what I'm reading about these individuals, they're understanding a lot more of life and then more life. So can we explore this consciousness shift without dying? And I'm proposing to look at that because of the brain waves, the lambda and the epsilon brain waves that are both off the scale lower and off the scale higher in our brain consciousness. So, and that's in us. So my question of being able to explore it without dying really is possible. It's possible. And the reason I'm proposing that it's possible is because the lambda and epsilon are measurable. That's how they were found in the first place. And I'm also proposing that if we're interested in exploring expanded states of consciousness without having the near-death experience, thank you, then the challenge is, are we prepared to allow it? Are we willing to access our higher levels? And this is sort of a serious question for me, because as anything that we're learning, we have to be willing to, oh, Eddie just came in. We have to be willing to do our part.
You made me read the book.
I know, I can't get into my phone right now.
Okay.
Okay. Galatians 6:7 says, "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. Whatever a man sows, that will he reap." And that verse is just a reminder that what we sow into our own lives, if we sow peace, if we sow meditation and prayer and come into that oneness, into that place of knowing I am. If we that is our constant conscious life, right? Then we will reap from that place. What are we prepared to do? And then are there conditions? And I'm going to suggest there are. As a matter of fact, it's simply the decisions we make to our life and what we do about what we already know. I just had about 6 different things go through my mind as examples, but I don't want to use them right now. We need to, the things that we know, the things that we're learning about is part of what's being presented for us, whether you're listening to this program or whether you're listening to anybody or whatever book you're reading, whatever course you're taking. If it's just a course or if it's just something you're hearing and you can get really excited about and think, oh yeah, that's really good. That's who I am. How wonderful is this? But you don't take it any further and make it part of who you are, then when you expect results in your life, don't be surprised if they don't happen, because it's not about just listening. It's about the knowing. It's about understanding that, and it's beyond the belief. It's not the, oh yeah, I believe that there's God. It's the, I know there's God. I know that the signature of God is in me. I know that every cell of my body has God imprinted. It actually means God eternal within the body. Remember, we learned that from the God code. It's true. And in one way, we have access to altered states, out-of-body experience, and deep spiritual awareness every night. It's called dreaming. It's a time that God can speak to us. And you know why he can speak to us at night? It's because we finally shut up and let him speak. In Job 33, it says, in a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon men, in slumbering upon the bed, when he opens the ears of men and women and seals their instruction. Deep sleep falls upon them means a state of consciousness where divine messages can be received. When he opens the ears, symbolically means that God reveals truth. He gives warnings or may provide guidance. And in that time, seals their instruction. This could mean that God imprints wisdom or lessons in a person's heart during sleep. That sounds pretty superconscious to me. Can we enter into those superconscious, into that superconsciousness on purpose? I believe we can. We enter states when we consciously make a decision to focus with purpose on things that we know to do. We enter into a conscious awareness in prayer, in meditation, in living from unconditional love, in gratitude. We enter into different states of consciousness when we embrace the scripture, be still and know that I am God. And when that becomes our reality and the outside world is shut off, that whole understanding of consciousness is ours, because it's an intent, intentional that we're there. We become intentional about it. Meditations are about becoming intentional and then allowing the transfer. It's the not my will but thine part. Meditations such as blessing energy centers, or simply entering into the silence. Or like we did last week, we spent time, a short time as it was, going into the light. It's all about our frequency. It's all about training. It's all about doing what we know. So what if these things are a pathway? What if they're a bridge of supernatural consciousness, of superconsciousness that is beyond our present experience? What if superconsciousness is on the other side as well of what we're able to measure scientifically. That superconscious state doesn't leave because we are energy and we don't have a word for the other yet. We don't have to wait until we have completely mastered everything. So if I sound like I'm being hard on you, I don't mean to be. I just want to be straight up. We don't have to wait till we've mastered all that we have. We just need to know it helps to spend time in focus. When we live with purpose, rather than randomly letting life happen to us, when we recognize unconditional love is our lifestyle, not just a moment when we feel something, when we are aware of not allowing negative thoughts or belief systems to rule our thoughts and emotions, then we're on a journey to being enlightened. Remember, what we do frequently creates our frequency. And certain meditation practices can help us access states of superconsciousness. They can take us, and that's where we're going tonight, across that bridge to a place of experiences that are described by those who have had these near-death experiences and returned. Do we have to die? No, of course not. Jesus showed us a lot of these experiences that of how he lived outside of the 3D life as we know it. He showed power over spiritual forces. Remember when Satan took him and tempted him 3 times in the wilderness? He showed authority over time and space after walking on water, he caused the boat to immediately reach the other side. Do you know, as I meditate on living with purpose, and I look in the Bible, and it shows all these amazing things that Jesus did. He lived on purpose. He didn't. It wasn't something outside of him that came and took over when he needed to change things. He had the power over these forces. We have, in our oneness in him, with him, and in our I amness, the same. When Jesus appeared and he disappeared at will after his resurrection, we can do that. When he enters a locked room and appears, we can do that. And I know it sounds weird to many, but it's becoming our reality. Many people who spend time in an active ascension report the feeling of leaving their body, observing the physical world from different dimensions. And we, I think all probably on this call, have been in that position. These people, and I'm going to say we have experienced visions and emotions. We've seen lights. We've had memories or feel a deep sense of unity. What supercharges our consciousness? Love, joy, peace, compassion, gratitude. Those are the things within us that takes us to the enlightened, deep, transcendental states of consciousness. And we can experience this voluntarily. So tonight, I'd like to take time to begin to experience what SuperConsciousness offers. And this is a guided meditation, and it's designed to help us to experience a state of expanded consciousness and maybe enter into an advanced or even transcendental state. Now, this will depend on the ability to surrender to the process. So, I am calling it SuperConsciousness, a journey beyond the body into light. So that is our positioning here. Now I'm going to put Laura C's, it's called Meditation Prayer Music, on, because this meditation time is going to be a little bit longer than our generally, 5 minutes plus that we've been doing. I feel to do a longer one tonight because of the subject, but also because there's more to it to get us. It's when I'm talking about coming into that superconscious state, I personally am not trained in it, so I can just sort of sit down and go, there I am. Not like the heart-brain coherence, where when you do that a lot, it just sort of flows. All the steps flow into each other, and it's so easy to come into that place of gratitude, and we're experiencing your whole life system, your blood pressure, everything just goes into such a perfect state of coherence, and it's easy to do. In this particular guided meditation, because it is longer, part of the invitation is to allow yourself to just respond, just to allow yourself to just go with the flow on this and go wherever you are the most comfortable going. So I'm going to start, and I'm just going to suggest that everybody finds a comfortable place. Now, is this music, Kathy, is this music, can you hear it?
I can't, but my computer is bad. I see Hadassah is nodding. She can hear it.
She can hear it? Okay. All right. Okay. Just get comfortable. Find a quiet, whoops, oh dear. Coming back. Okay. Start again. In this particular meditation, just find a quiet, a dark or dimly lit space where you won't be disturbed. When you lie down, it's a good idea just to lie comfortably with your arms at your sides. And when you get there, close your eyes, take a deep breath in. Then exhale slowly. Once again, take a deep breath in. Filling your lungs with calming energy. Exhale slowly, consciously releasing all tension. Take another deep breath in. As you exhale, feel your body becoming lighter. Bring your awareness to your feet. Just your feet. Feel them relaxing. And then sense the space. There's space around your feet. Now, feel your legs relaxing. Sense the space around your feet, around your legs. Just relax. Now sense your torso, your body. Just relax. If you feel your shoulders up, let them come down. Continue sensing the space around you. Sense your arms. Sense the space around your arms. Now relax your neck and your head. Sense the space surrounding your neck and your head. Feel your face soften.
Joan Connor.
Sense your mind releasing all thoughts. All thoughts. When thoughts come, just let them go. Let them go. See them going right by. Now purposefully, with every breath, keep breathing regularly, rhythmically. Let yourself sense your entire body in this relaxation. Let yourself feel as if you're floating. You may feel you're somewhere between wakefulness and sleep. That's okay. Let yourself float in that place. Now keep breathing. Now imagine a gentle vibration starting to build in your body. At first it'll be subtle, but with each breath, let it grow stronger. You may feel a tingling sensation. It's as though your energy is shifting. If your energy is shifting, you can visualize your consciousness rising. It's as if it's lifting out of your body. You feel yourself floating, weightless. Your physical body is below you. It's resting peacefully. But you are still here, fully aware and floating above it. You're in perfect peace. You can look around, there's no fear, only a sense of freedom of clarity and expansion. You are no longer bound by your physical form. You are energy. Now notice a soft, glowing light in the distance. This light feels familiar, warm, full of love. You feel a deep pull toward it. It feels familiar, and it's a safe place. As you move toward the light, you'll feel a profound sense of love, of understanding and peace. Any doubts, worries, or fears dissolve in the presence of this light. You are now inside the light. You and the light are one. You are completely embraced by it. That light flows to you, flows through you, flows to you, flows through you. You are one. This is the source, the infinite consciousness, the space of pure love. As you rest in this light, you can ask, what limiting beliefs do I need to release? How can I bring this peace back into my daily life? Now, as you listen, you may receive images, words, emotions, or simply a deep knowing. This is a place where words may not come, but you will know. Trust your intuition. Now slowly begin to drift back. You're leaving the light, but you have a knowing that it is always in you. Feel yourself gently descending and that floating sensation back toward your body, softly, effortlessly. And as you re-enter your body, you feel a new sense of clarity, peace, and purpose. Just allow yourself to embrace that. Because you are peace. You are love. You have purpose. No one else can fulfill your purpose. Okay. Okay, take a deep breath in. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. And exhale with purpose. Just breathe in. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. You'll be fully present, awake, and deeply transformed. This experience is just a glimpse into the infinite nature of your subconscious. You are more than your body. You are limitless. You are aware. And you are forever connected to the light. That meditation prayer music is Laura C. 528 Hertz Frequency Worship Instrumental, and it's on YouTube. If you'd like to go back into it. God bless you, Laura C. What a girl. Okay. I sort of feel like if you just like to stay in that place that you feel in the light, we can just sort of be there. I like where you are, Susan, in the dark. How did you do? I know it's really hard, to come out of and start talking. Lana, what did you see while you were there? I know you saw stuff.
I was so peaceful. I don't know if I actually saw anything.
Nice. Wow. That's really cool. You were like, just be still and know.
It was, yes, it was so deep and just Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Very powerful. Loved it.
When you asked us to imagine that or see the frequency and just allowing it to grow or whatever, I was sensing something. I wasn't too sure what it was, but then as we move forward, um, as we were moving towards the light, I saw it's like a giant sheet, or not, I guess we'll call it a sheet. But so instead of just frequencies like we would see on a page, or like what you'd written on that thing, just like the up and down, it was actually like little hills and valleys that were going up and down, up and down, up and down in that sheet as it was moving almost like towards the sunrise or sunset, like that light that you're inviting us to.
Oh,
It was really cool. But I have to say, I was, you invited us to be between wakefulness and sleepfulness. I think I was moving more towards the sleepfulness. But it was just so super relaxing.
but Kathy, I'm glad you brought that up because uh, getting to that state where you are in between. I know we did this, this guided meditation tonight, but when you're doing it on your own, I just let myself go into the sleep because that state of sleep is so powerful when you're bringing this frequency into it, and I think it just carries on. For me, it carries on the dreams, and then wake in full consciousness with downloads and really, yeah, really, really crazy stuff. But so affirming and so I was gonna say building, like edifying, right? Just yeah. Don't I would
Yeah,
run away from
this
that.
is it. It's just like the allowing that light to intermix with the fabric of our being, right?
Right, exactly.
It's yeah, like just to like refresh and renew and in energize, I guess, in one sense, and yeah, release all that the
Yeah, and when
goodness of knowing that. Yeah.
right on, right on. And when we're in a guided imitation, a guided meditation like this, I just take it as a suggestion,
Mm,
not as something I've got to complete this for any reason. I think anything that helps me come into that place of complete peace and knowing, and I especially like it when I'm not aware of myself in it and I become consciousness in it.
mm.
And so whether you sleep or wake or yeah, that's cool. Eddie brought, or the book's name is Proof of Heaven that I was trying to remember. I should have remembered. Proof of Heaven, and it's Dr. Eben Alexander that wrote it. This is a book that I'm going to buy another copy or two because I think everyone should be encouraged. This is if this is so good. It's written with such encouragement to anyone who has had. Um, Actually, if you know anyone who's died, it would just be amazing encouragement because he just really does talk about proof of heaven. All right, Gina girl.
Um, yeah, that was a beautiful meditation. I really was well, I was just allowing myself to respond and not allowing my brain to ask or my heart to intend nothing, just to be. So that's a nice break for me. But a beautiful thing happened, because as we were guided into, the body of the meditation, it seemed to be quite natural to kind of detach from your body,
Oh,
in spite of what my body was feeling, which was interesting, I thought. So that was affirming to me, because I had the privilege within the experience to not have to feel my body,
right.
which was really cool. So that was a neat experience. And in the light and in the area of, when we were in that spot, I heard these words: "You can know that I have heard you." That was really profound to
Wow.
me.
Wow.
And then, "You always have known that I have heard you."
Wow.
And then, simply, "Know that I've heard you."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was so moving and profound to me,
Wow.
because it was real.
It's real. Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. I,
Mm.
I'm glad you brought that up, about the feeling the separation, right, from your body into consciousness. Eddie, when he had his operation last, was not a week tomorrow, and it was a little more extensive than we had thought at the beginning. And it was very interesting. I hope you don't mind me sharing this, Eddie, but when he said, when it's in line with what you just said. When I stand outside my body and I understand now, becoming the observer
Mhm.
of my body. When I do that, then when you become the observer, like, when you focus on something that's painful, that needs fixing, illness, whatever, that will expand.
Mhm.
And when you become the observer, and this is one of the tools that we have in meditation to be able to do that, to disconnect. So what we focus on is the peace and the health and the healing, rather
Mhm.
than the situation at hand, whatever
Mhm.
that is. It's
Yeah, that's beautiful, and beautiful way to put that. It also, speaking of the observer, I realized somewhere in there, or it became known to me, yeah, it wasn't really a thought, but it became known to me that I'm so capable of way beyond what I think.
yeah.
I mean, there's so much of
Mhm,
who we are,
mhm,
um, that we have not explored.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
And it really just is an exploration, because all of that is real. All of that is true.
That's
All
right.
of that is the truth of who we really are.
Exactly.
So that's why you know that I have heard you was so profound.
Exactly. Exactly.
All those way out there things are real.
It is totally real. It's totally real. That's so good. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Susan.
Thank you, Helen. Oh my goodness. Um, I have been spending so much time in this arena, and each time I want less and less to come back. But I had an experience tonight with this that I've been practicing when I'm in a good expanded place, looking at myself and saying, what is it that I do not want to bring back? What is it that I want to consciously change and then apply that to the subconscious so that I'm recreating myself? But tonight I didn't have that happen. I felt like I was so expanded that it was almost like the fabric of my frequency was a sifter. And those things that I didn't even have to figure out what they were or identify them, they were just sifting away. Like if you go to the beach and you have a sifter and you shake it, and what was happening was the impurities were, or the not the impurities, but the things that were a result of where I had been and what I had done and what I had created, they were falling out. And then as I began to reconnect and come back, I was leaving them behind without that step of having to discern them and identify them and then figure out what I'm going to do with them. And then, and without the process of making them an intention, it was almost as if the experience of that light and frequency together accomplished that smoothly. Like you said with the heart brain coherence, after you practice it a while, you don't have to think about it. It's like riding a bike or driving a car. And the experience I had just now was without all the steps of observing, identifying, now be careful, watch for this so you don't let it come back in, all of that. It just flowed. And I just think it has to do with exactly how you had me refocus on just going into the light and staying in the light. It was the light's what did the work. The light is what revealed it, and then it just settled like silk, like when you shake up something in a glass, and then all this, or the salad dressing, all the stuff that, the chunky stuff that falls to the bottom, and on the top is just the golden oil. And that's what I felt like when I began to come back. It was just all of that silt went to the bottom just of its own volition. So thank you. That was amazing. It was so good.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I love the sifting analogy. When I do this particular meditation, I like it because it is a settling for me. And so you described that, and I think, golly, that's probably what's happening without going into the detail. Like, do we really need to know all the details? Because you start focusing on that and you forget the purpose of the rest, right?
Yep. Oh, that was just delightful.
Oh, that's so good. Good, good, good. Thank you for sharing. Wow. I like the fact whether you go with the terminology into the super consciousness, as it were, or whether the other people use the term unconscious. I just like the fact that we can go into this place where where it's so beyond anything that this is just for me, that I've experienced before, but had glimpses of it, have had, during, just isolated meditation times or ascension times, and that becomes part of the fabric of your personal life. And then you sort of get these flashes and glimmers, and doing it from this point of view, that it's something that you can actually step into, has now broadened it for me, has expanded it, so that it's beginning to feel the new normal, to be there. And yeah, I'll just leave that. Susan, go ahead.
I just wanted to say one more thing. I'm beginning to be much more aware of the threshold when I cross from matter to frequency. And that too is part of this, as we practice this expansion like we just did.
Yeah.
I'm always, I'm closer to that all the time. And then I'm more aware of, I can get there quicker. Just like settle yourself and just, okay, it's time to just cross over. And so this is another crossing over for me. And I just want to thank you for that next dimension, that next threshold. That was just awesome.
Yeah. I totally get what you're saying. Totally get that. I think we are doing a crossing over, whether we have words for it or not. I think some of the things that we're beginning to experience in these times of just quiet, of just rest, of no, gee, I have to do, that it's almost like we're experiencing things before we have the words for it. Yeah. Karen and Rick.
Well, I just wanted to share something very simple that I experienced in that meditation. It was quite beautiful. So the best way I know how to describe it is I just went into a realm of greater trust, and I just experienced it in my whole body. It was so beautiful, and it's still with me. Just a sense of greater trust. So thankful.
Wow. That's a pretty amazing place to be.
Yes, it is.
Total trust. Thank you. Bless you. Eddie
Bless you.
Berger.
Did you say me?
Hi.
I had when you said to float above your body, I had no trouble because we had groups years ago that we heard that they were tied on so that they wouldn't float away from their husbands or wives. So I had no trouble doing that. And then all of a sudden I realized, I guess in our language we could call it doubt, but I would come down and I'd have to kick myself. I'd land and touch the floor and I'd have to go back up again until and then you float back down, and all of a sudden you realize, listen, like I can float. So I stopped doing it and I stopped thinking about it, and then the rest proceeded as through the meditation.
It's funny how I love that you shared that. That's not an uncommon thing for us, right? To come back into our 3D thinking. We're used to thinking a certain way, and then somebody tells you can float, or you don't have to be in that body, and your common sense hits, but good for you for in the same breath changing it and going back, right? That's how you win the race. That's how you do it. And the practicing that I loved bringing up. I mean, yeah, 10, 15 years ago when we started doing the group ascensions, and that we had some really, really crazy things in the learning, and that was one of them. We had a hard time letting go of 3D and realizing that we are energy, we are spirit beings. That's so good. Persist. Do it again. Debbie.
Oh, this is so good. You know, when you said you can just think of it and then you'll be there.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me, because I've been listening to this lady, Jetta Molly, and it's called Seeds of Enlightenment. And she takes you to this place after, just like we went through, she takes you to that place after she has a teaching. And so this is something that I've been drawn to and been doing every day. So when you started this tonight, I went, oh, that's this. So I could instantly connect with it. And something interesting, and actually I realized this before we started on the meditation, but it ties into what happened to me in the meditation. And I was at the chiropractor earlier today, and my chiropractor is a Christian. And so we were interacting a little bit. And she was so excited because she said that she had asked God for a house. And she said money just started coming in, but she said, I can't explain it. It wasn't like I could count it and figure it out and, make steps and do things and so forth. She said, I just don't even know how to explain it to you. And I knew that she was talking about receiving it from the spirit. So, I brought that in. Well, when we were before the meditation, all of a sudden that clicked with me, because I realized that she was one field with the spiritual realm of unlimited bounty, and she was just receiving as needed. And so then when we did the meditation, what happened to me was, it wasn't about money, it was about healing. And that it's like the aperture opens up more, and you're just able to receive more of that enlightenment. And I began to see that everything that we receive from the Lord is never ending supply that comes just as needed if we're open to it in every realm. Financial was with the chiropractor, and then healing. I began to see that with me, and then I began to see that the Lord started all this in me in about 2008, because I used to, it's a long story, but just the essence of it was, in the afternoons, I had free time, and I just felt the Lord just cocooning me and pulling me away. And I would go and lay on my bed, and I'd go, I might fall asleep. I'd come back out. I'd like be in the heavenlies, and just all this stuff going on. And it was so pleasurable that, it drew me every day. And that was the beginning of all this for me. And I and when you say all you have to do is think of it and you can be there, that is so true, because we already are that. We already have everything. We're just not open enough. But at those times like this, when we get just touched on a little bit deeper note, a little bit deeper level, there's just more opening that comes, and more release and expansion, and it's what we're learning here is going to be normal Christianity in a couple of generations. We're just reaching out there and exploring and receiving more of what's available. We're just forging forward. And, that comes to me so often, like we're like on the cutting edge of this, but this is going to be normal Christianity before too long. But we're breaking through to all that, that's just my personal experience. But anyway, all this just fascinates me so much, because just like Gina and some of you guys have been saying, we are so much more than we have ever even imagined. And we can feel that, maybe we don't get it mentally or whatever, but we touch in upon it and we know it's truth. And we get it at that moment, and we keep on getting it and keep on getting it. And just like everybody's been saying, as we practice it, we become it. We really are it.
Right. Absolutely.
That is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope we are the generation that walks in it to the extent that that becomes our normal.
Yes.
Like that, really and truly that we truly walk and say, I am divine health. I am divine wealth. I am.
Yes.
And it is so. It is so.
Absolutely.
And then give it away.
I just had one more thought. What recently has been happening to me when these sparks, when you just get more expansive and so forth, it feels like we're touching in upon immortality. I mean, we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
We truly are.
Isn't that right?
Yeah. Yes. Well, glad to be here. Thanks for letting me share.
It is true, Debbie. Thank you. You're great. Thank you. Lena.
I just had to add to my earlier, as people are bringing up stuff, it's like, oh yeah, I remember floating, but I was so deep, I couldn't remember, but I came out and my whole body's like, zzz. Anyways, it's quite incredible and I'm enjoying it, but I'm like, I'm remembering now as people are bringing things up. Oh yes, that. Anyways, very fun.
I get it. In this particular meditation where we go through the body areas, right, and systematically, and then say focus on the area that's around it. That for me has been a transforming place, because it sort of sets up my physical being into. I just go into the heart of God in it like that. But then I don't have anything to do with it. So I'm so free to go wherever that takes me. So they're all the components of it, right? I was expecting you'd see other light. You're my light girl. I like Susan.
Helen, I have a question for you. I've been thinking about the circle with all of the frequencies on it, and where the lambda meets the what's the other one? Yeah, lambda meets the epsilon, and I'm thinking that those two frequencies, the highest and the lowest, are the ones that we don't seem to yet have access to. But and this has been since you showed that little thing, I thought, what if we could connect those and they would have full circle around our minds, like in our electromagnetic field? What if making that connection is what opens up translation and time travel and all those other interdimensional pieces that are floating around there, like the puzzle pieces? What if connecting those two would complete that circle, and that would be our immortality?
But you just hit why I made. I'm going to go get it, because you've hit on something that I think is worthwhile. It's going to take me 1 minute to go in the other room. Somebody say something brilliant while I'm gone.
Brilliant.
Susan, can you expand a little bit more on what you were saying?
Okay,
I'm not exactly sure what I'm saying, except that I've been thinking about that and thinking about it since Helen did that. And I just realized that if we connected the whole spectrum, instead of it having it be a linear spectrum, if we made it circular and the highest and the lowest connected with that overlap, it would complete that circle of frequency that would be in our bodies, and then our bodies would then be in that immortal state.
okay.
Like we go so far in one direction and so far in the other, but we don't connect both ends yet. Go ahead, Helen.
But that is exactly why I created this, so that we aren't linear in our thinking for it. And Susan, I think you hit it. When we start, we're on a scale, like from the lowest to the highest. On the brainwave scale, we start at delta, then we go to the theta, the alpha, the beta, the gamma, and scientists are saying now there's a hyper gamma. Now I'm going with that. I'm not saying there isn't, but I'm saying for me, when I look at the scale and then I study what the lambda is, that's the hyper gamma. There's something in there that goes into this place of the lambda, which is 200 to 500 hertz, and it's in its what's it called, advanced levels of consciousness. But those two do overlap, and I think they do touch, because when I studied it, I found out that when you're in this lower state of epsilon, the lowest you can go, like you're not straight lining, you're not dead, but you're at a level of consciousness that is really, really, really low, and it's a transcendental state. And I think it's transcendental because the next level of that is flatlining. But this state, the lambda, that when they're touching, what I learned was that every once in a while, when you come into this epsilon state, the lambda state will superimpose itself on it. And I think I'm searching for words to explain what you have hit on tonight, because this is exactly, I think it isn't a graph. It is, all of this is in us.
Yes.
We have, and we, at any part of the day, doesn't it look like a party hat? These are our brain waves, and some point during the day, we do it all. Like, we are in all of these states. What I was hoping tonight that we would understand, that those two states, the highest and the lowest, are achievable, even though it seems impossible to come into this advanced level or the higher level or the transcendental level. I think one of the things tonight I hope we go away with is it's possible to do it, and it's possible to do it on purpose. And it's possible to live in it and experience it without dying and then having to have these near-death experiences. I believe we can learn to release and to allow ourselves to go into that place, which I think is into God, the way, and to be one there.
Helen, what frequency are we in if we're in a coma? Do you know?
Well, I'm thinking that it's the lowest.
Is it as low as that?
As the epsilon?
Yeah.
Well, you see, when we look at this is consciousness.
Right. So
in a coma,
call it
we hear people coming out of a coma that were completely away. What do you call it?
Aware, they could hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're conscious. They and even in a drug state, there are a lot of people that well, I know of I know a friend who was having a lot of work done. The anesthetic didn't work, yet she was in a state that they would have said that she shouldn't have had those experiences and be able to tell them everything that's going on, everything they're saying. But yet sedated to a place where she couldn't do it at the time. Those are really goofy things. Or being in an operation and coming out and telling them all the things that they did or said. My near-death experience person has her hand up. My expert.
You know, I love this.
I do.
That happened to me one time when I was in an operation where I was aware, and I couldn't let them know that I was aware. I think eventually they did because my breathing, but yeah, that was amazing. But the other day, I've been doing a lot of stillness. We do communion before we eat, and I'll just get lost in it. And Jen is with me most of the time. But the other day, it was so deep that I really felt like I had a revelation of when someone's in a coma, like we're talking about, but yet so fully aware, but so engaged in that internal, the kingdom within that life. Like it's so engaging, but yet we're hyper aware, not engaged out here, but aware. Like the engagement is within, but it's such a delicious place to be. Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah, there is that hyper awareness. And so my question is, does this hyper consciousness, hyper awareness, is that what happens in the transition, in our consciousness, that we're taken to the place that we can possibly be in our dimensional state as we know it, to cross into that place of being that transcendental state, or the levels of consciousness where you see everything, know everything. That seems to be the only people I hear bringing those things back to our understanding and bring them words are near-death experiences. Other than and I haven't had experience with the monks in Tibet, where they do those crazy things. But there is a level of consciousness that I believe we can set our hearts to, because they're in Him, they're in Father, we're already one with it by our words and understanding. Now I want it with our experiences.
Yeah. I love how you had also what Gina and what others have talked about the leaving the body, because I've been really wanting to do that. And I know there's someone who teaches, like, when you're in that almost asleep state, how to just roll out of bed and then have a focus, and go toward, and but I'm just like when I'm in those meditative states, I'm very expanded, in the light. It's so glorious, but there's still a part of me that's very aware of my body,
Right.
Just very aware of I'm sitting here. And so maybe I just need to practice more what you said about floating up, and I don't know, but yes, I want that so much.
I'm going to tie her down. There's
yeah. Well, wasn't it Joseph of Cappuccino?
Cappuccino.
That's what his name is. He was a friar is it Ireland, where they had to tie a rope to him because he kept floating. His
Floating up.
consciousness, his body went with his consciousness, and he was always in that presence of God. And to get it, they thought he was insane. He could have been, I don't know, or very simple, who knows. But they had to tie a rope to him, otherwise he'd just fly off.
You know, we did a iFly, something like that, where you go into a place where it's like a wind tunnel, and they teach you how to like
Skydive.
catch the air. Not skydive.
It is. It's
Okay,
skydive.
well, you catch the air and you go up, but there's an instructor in there. Well, I learned how to have my body so that I would just go, I just wanted to go up. And the instructor kept pulling me down because, you know, I guess he didn't want me going all the way up there. And I'm like, stop pulling me down. But I feel that in the spirit. I'm like, I'm positioned, you know, let's go.
We're in such a schoolhouse, aren't we? We just are learning so much, and we want so much. We want so much more.
Sorry to interrupt, Helen, but Dr. Alexander, when he wrote in the book, he was so he didn't believe in the near-death experience. Excuse me, and but so when he was going to write about it, he was going to read about what the other people did, and his son said, "Don't do that because then your testimony will be clouded." Right. So he didn't read any books, and if you read it, it is like he had meningitis, like acute, that people don't get 1 in 2 million or whatever, and he writes, and I say that, you know, I don't spend that much time, but I was so attached to the reading of his reading or somebody's reading of the book that I would say this would be a good book to read if this is something you're interested in.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Sorry, Susan.
I read that
proof
years.
of heaven. Pardon?
Yeah, I read that book years ago, and it really impacted me, especially the way he started.
Yeah.
And I won't spoil it for anybody. That's a lot of detail, but the way he started, and he went up in frequency and levels of consciousness, but
exactly
started such a blank. I did look it up, and when they measure it with an EEG machine in a coma, you're in alpha, and that's 13, 18.
Yeah, that's a transitional.
But Helen, when you made that strip, when you first showed it, I actually thought that you inverted it and you made it a Moebius strip. And
yeah, you know what? I started to do that. It wasn't long enough.
Yeah.
but that's what it should be.
And I think that's what that's exactly what Susan was saying, is when I do think it's almost like it flips. I mean, you literally take paper and you twist it, you retape it, but you write it on both sides, and you can literally never get away. You never reach in. You're constantly going in the same direction on both sides of the paper. They never separate. They're always connected. Right. And that's just the image I took away when you first showed it 2 weeks ago. I actually walked away. I was like, that was a circle, but I swear that was, in my mind, it was a Moebius strip.
That's how I intended it first, and I couldn't, it wasn't long enough, but I'm going to make one now that you said it. But here's the thing. These are our brain waves, right? We haven't even hit the fact that our heart energy is 5,000 times greater. I mean, we've got, I thought we can't be dealing with everything all at once all the time. Just learning the one thing at a time. So these are our brain waves. These are who we are inside of these frequencies. But when we're not inside of the body, there is a superconsciousness that is transferred from this into the next, whatever that is, and the super consciousness that is in between the highest and lowest is where that bridge is. I just know that's where that bridge is, but I don't have a word for it because consciousness belongs to the brain waves. You know? And it's I don't know. I should probably not have even started this thing. Susan, save us.
Yeah, well, I can't, I'm probably going to muddy the waters. I'm going to stir the pot again.
Sure.
I'm going to say, should maybe we call the heart brain or the math, who's the math guy? McCready. You know, he's the guy that talks about the heart brain coherence.
Right.
And I wonder what they do with this, because certainly with all of his research, he must know about epsilon and lambda. And so where do they put it on the spectrum, and what are they doing with it?
Why isn't anybody talking about it?
Yeah, no kidding. Did we just discover something?
No, I didn't make it up. I found it.
No, discovered. I didn't say you made it up. I said,
I know,
you just discovered it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I just think, why is there just that, you know,
that missing link?
It is the missing so far. Maybe there's more. There's
always more.
There you go. But there's something more, because consciousness goes with us after this plane, and we die. We still exist, and there's consciousness attached to it, and I don't know what it's called. That's the problem. For me, that's the problem. So maybe, I don't know why this hasn't been on the scale.
I don't know. Let's go find out.
I'm with you, girl.
It'll be on the scale now because we brought it into
that's right.
the field.
Now,
so
yeah.
We're going to start.
Now everybody's going to start talking about it.
We're going to start
and we'll say
things and learning stuff, and it's going to come, you know, into our awareness. But I just wanted to say, you know, that state that you were talking about, Elizabeth, about, you know, kind of being in this coma, but you're aware, super aware. Isn't this sort of beautiful? Because we don't know what that is, and we don't necessarily have a name for it, and that's fine, because we probably won't have a bunch of names for a lot of stuff that we are walking into. But it reminds me of the exact state that we need to be in to create.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're in that place of creation, to co-create, to manifest, to know a thing. And then because of your super awareness, because of your super consciousness, in all at the same time, in the coma state of what coma, you're not really in a coma, but you know what I'm saying, here out there. And okay, great. Now what can you do in that state? This is where my brain goes.
Everything.
So if we know a thing and we bring that back, it is a thing and it will manifest.
Okay, I'm with you 150%.
Okay.
But the thing is,
I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know anything. I'm just saying.
No, I agree with you. Well,
Yeah.
I look at Jesus's life, and that he's my model. He's like from the great masters that we've studied and read about and all that. I just love how Christ and Christ consciousness is presented in our Bible. And when I look at that, I realize that he was this. He operated in here. He didn't operate in the other side without consciousness, and therefore, so can we.
Exactly. That's my whole point.
Regardless whether we memorize these names or verses or anything like that, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. We are the I am in this.
Yeah.
the beautiful thing is to recognize that I am doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And maybe as you know, as we leave this plane and go to another, wherever that is, however it is, maybe this goes with us and we continue on our learning. I don't know. But I do know that it's conscious on that side, and we haven't got the terminology for it. Maybe we're not supposed to. But these people that come back with the experience come back from being conscious of what happened and bringing it back.
But they come back fully healed too, like fully whole.
Yeah.
So that's my point. I'm thinking, wow.
Right. Okay. Sorry, Jana. I didn't.
No, that's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
that's cool.
But it is a place of knowing and then fullness and wholeness.
Right.
Yeah. Because
Okay,
somehow,
and then receiving it, right? Receiving it. So maybe that's
or it just is. I don't even know. Maybe it's just a place where it just flips and it is, and you know it, and so there it is.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm with you.
I don't know, but I sort of love it because it's this place of, and maybe creation is wrong. I don't know the word, but this place of God and all the stuff he's capable of. Okay. Oh, I don't know. It beautiful topic anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Maybe take Susan next because hers would fit in more probably, and then I'll share mine.
Okay. Susan?
Well, I thank you, Pat. I just had a thought about what Gina said, and it's like, we see in part, we know in part, and we're traveling on this spectrum, or we're traveling on this path of frequencies, and from time to time we touch those, but we know that we touch the high and the low, but we know that Jesus operated fully within that spectrum the whole time. And I'm thinking, if we were able to complete that circuit and complete that circle, like Gina said, as we pass through that high and low, we get the complete healing, complete abundance, more complete understanding. And probably every time we go around the circuit, we get, a greater expansion of that. The same way as we meditate in the different levels that we have now, we're getting more familiar, more edgy, more expanded in them. So I'm thinking, what an awesome thing where we would complete it. And even if we were to leave the physical body behind, we would still carry that experience with us, even though the actual body was no more. And that completion is the creation part, those two little missing frequency places. As we travel through that, that's going to be our circuit, Yeah, you heard it here first.
Yeah. I know, right? I know. Oh my gosh. So many questions. Pat.
Okay. First of all, I found the meditation very almost easy, just I don't know why, but it just seemed to be quite natural. And when you were expressing to, go outside of your body, it was like I saw a drawing, when somebody lies down and they draw around you. It was like that's what I saw, on myself. And it was just like I say, seemed very natural. And so throughout that, some of the time I saw like bands of light that went over and over and up, and like large bands of light. And that was very peaceful.
Mhm.
But I just want to share a little nugget that'll take about 2 seconds. You had that book you shared about earlier that you said was an old book.
Mhm.
Well, this is an old book too, and it's called God Calling, and I'm sure most of you have probably read it. Well, from February the 9th, when I read it that day, it says, "The voice divine. The divine voice is not always expressed in words. It is made known as a heart consciousness." And I thought, oh, that's cool. From way back, I don't even remember what year these sisters had these prophetic words for like a whole year. But I just thought that was cool.
That's very sweet. I love, I love it. Just sort of, it's very poetic. I love.
Yeah, but I just thought, well, it's just my perception.
It's lovely.
We're on a path. Meanwhile, these people were on this path like centuries ago, and went into God consciousness.
Right.
So that's cool.
That is cool. That is cool. Well, I guess our assignment is to call up Heart Math Institute and to find out.
I'm going to call them up and say, hey, you're holding out on us. We want the whole story.
Exactly. And let me know when the next time you hear somebody use lambda and epsilon in their sermon. Because once you put it out there, it's out there in the universe. Oh, well, thank you guys for tonight. Thank you for joining together. And we've lost a whole bunch of people, but we haven't lost them at all. We know exactly where they are. But thank you for your enthusiasm, for asking questions with me. I have more questions than answers these days. It just seems that as we're learning and activating things in our own lives, our own hearts, it increases. But the cool part is there's this underlying peace with it all. And there's times in my life where I've felt this, and I felt driven. I don't feel driven here. I feel like, okay, this is cool, Lord, thank you. And I just stay in this lovely gratitude of growth and being able to do it with you guys, to be able to do it with a community that of thinkers that want to expand and know, so that we can go on to wherever it is that we're supposed to be going. Don't even have words for it. It's all good. But you guys are amazing, and I really appreciate it.
I just wanted to share a praise report. I forgot to share it earlier. My brother-in-law was going through, he had surgery for esophagus cancer, and he was going through for radiation and chemo, and he got great news today that the scans were good. So yay, thank you, Lord.
That is good. Thank you for that.
Good to hear these wonderful miracles.
Oh yeah, we need those. Well, I just want to say thank you, Father. Thank you tonight for every single thing that you're doing with us, through us. Thank you that you are so faithful. Thank you for more questions. Thank you for all that you're doing in our hearts. Thank you for the connectiveness. Thank you for being able to meet and join in as though we were all in the same room. For Lord, I thank you that you're showing us and bringing us more and more into that place of oneness, and in that oneness that we can boldly stand and say, I am. Lord, I just bless every heart, every home. I thank you, Lord, that you are in the midst of all that we're doing. And Lord, we are faithful to look after you. We thank you. Amen. See you next week.